Colleagues, are we ready to go? On my right side, we're all here. I think we have a full quorum. Well, I'm opening the meeting at 2:34. Madam Clerk, if you can record that one. And this meeting is going to be my last meeting as a chair. I'll still hang on here. And I love to see so many audience here. Thank you for joining us, and we have a full quorum. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes. Good afternoon, directors. Directors DeScala.
Present.
McCarthy Olmsted. Martian.
Present.
Sloan.
Present.
Riley.
Present.
Brown.
Present.
Middleton.
Present.
Thank you. Bulapati. Papineau.
Here.
Nava.
Here.
Spees.
Present.
Lee. And Shalom Shirla.
Here.
And you do have your quorum.
Awesome. This time it is a pledge. I would like to request Shireen Arby, the Interfaith Chair, leading the pledge for our commission today.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Shireen. Madam Clerk, could you please read the statement of the meeting and meeting announcement, please?
Absolutely. The meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the Local Government Affairs Channel, and the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T U-verse cable systems. The live meeting can also be heard free on KUBU Radio 96.5 FM. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.gov and will replay on Saturday, March 9th at 3 p.m. on Metro Cable 14. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14. The Commission fosters public engagement during the meeting and encourages public participation, civility, and use of courteous language. To make a comment in person, please fill out a speaker request form and hand it to clerk staff. The chairperson will open public comments for each agenda or off-agenda item and direct the clerk to call the name of each speaker. When the clerk calls your name, please come to the podium and make your comment. To make a public comment by phone, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. Clerk staff, which would be me actually, will transfer each caller into the meeting. You may be on hold for an extended period of time and your patience is appreciated. Also, please feel free to send written comments by email to boardclerk@saccounty.gov, and your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And, it's again, I want to thank our board for moving the public comments to the front of the agenda. That way, all our, great audience are there who put us here, right? All the public. So, Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak? The items are not on the agenda.
We do have a couple of public comments from people who are actually in the... Liz, did you want to wait until your item comes up? Okay, and Jessica. Then we do not have any public comments currently.
Okay. I was hoping they're all coming now to, share their joy. Okay.
I thought we had one public comment that wanted to speak now instead of on her agenda item. Shira is in the audience.
Yes.
Shira.
See?
Hi.
Hello.
So that was on agenda item 3, but thank you, Bob, for moving it up so I can go get to my parent-teacher conference. My name is Shira Lane. Can you hear me? Perfect.
Yes.
My name is Shira Lane. I'm with Atrium 916. We're a creative innovation center for sustainability. We are working on the TV series called Citizens of Planet Earth, and I did want to give an update on where we are with that. We have one 100% completed episode. Now we're working on getting, well, a lot of the episodes are almost complete. But we have one that is ready for viewing, that is being color corrected, sound sweetening. And right now we're working on sponsorships. So we're trying to get all the sponsorships lined up before we deliver that to our stations. And also we've been in talks with CalRecycle because we educate on waste reduction and it's all about sustainability. We're in talks with CalRecycle to use that as education within with CalRecycle on waste reduction, and hopefully we can get that into schools. And that's our goal.
That's awesome. Yep, we need more education for our kids to school, whatever they can help us to make this earth a better place, right?
Yes, and especially on sustainability, we don't have enough on that, on waste reduction. What is recyclable, what is not recyclable, what we can do. These are important things, and also elevating our creative economy. So I appreciate your faith in us and making this happen. If you do want to watch a full episode, you can go to our website at atrium916.com/TV. You'll see there a trailer, but also you can book a meeting to see the whole episode. We do that kind of one-on-one just so that the footage doesn't get shared. So if you have any questions, I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much for the update. Awesome. Well, with that, I think, Madam Clerk, I think the remaining are going to come when the items comes, right? The remaining speakers.
Yes, if there are any that come in our comment queue, we do have a clerk who is upstairs and she's moderating and watching the queue, so she'll let us know.
That's a good one because we'll be talking more about how people can reach us, right? Outreach. The next section is all about the consent calendar items from 2 to 7. Colleagues, do you guys have? Yep.
Intention to pull them necessarily. Can I ask those now?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so clarifying question on number 3 related to Atrium 916. I noticed that they had
I'm sorry,
amendments
excuse me,
in...
Ms. Director Sloan, if I could read item number 3 into the record really quickly here. Bear with me. And so for item number 3 this afternoon, we have receive and file the Fourth Amendment to Atrium 916 Professional Services Agreement. And then, I'm sorry, 3, and what were the other 2? I'll go ahead and read them into the record.
4 and 5.
And then number 4 is receive and file the other post-employment benefits actuarial valuation and GASB 75 report for fiscal years ending June 30th, 2022 and June 30th, 2023. And item number 5 is to adopt the resolution approving the proposed amendments to the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission Personnel Policies Manual.
Thank you. Do we have any representatives of Atrium 916 here today?
We do. Shebra is still in the audience.
Thank you. I just had 2 questions. One of Atrium, I noticed that we'd had 2 extensions by amendment in the last 2 years, some changing to the staff capacity and changing to the number of episodes. So,
Oh, yes.
okay. I'm new and just making sure I got this question right. So my question to you is, just to have on the record, do you feel confident that you would be able to complete the work in the amount of time that we're proposing for a 3rd extension today, 6 months?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. It was changed. This was a program, just to kind of bring you up to speed. This was a program that initiated during COVID as an idea to help local creatives. We received submissions. The idea was to receive a lot of submissions through the phone, and then we were to edit that into a TV series. When we got all the material that we got, it wasn't really up to spec. It didn't present our creative economy in the best light. It did not become something that we felt was shareable, that we could provide to our community here to share. We felt that that just didn't do justice to this agreement, to you, to us, anybody. And that's when we came and asked if we could amend that to hiring the same amount of people, which was the goal, just to fewer episodes so we could focus each episode and elevate the quality of each episode. And that's what we did. This was doing a 6-episode TV series on such a small budget has been difficult, and where things have extended, we have had to rely on one editor, which means we have to rely on their one timeline. And sadly, COVID has had some issues. So that is why. But I am more than happy to show you the episode that we are now showing to sponsors and any other episode you want to see kind of like the progress.
I appreciate your confidence and your commitment to a good quality project. I would like to also ask our council, do we have any flexibility in the event, I'm not anticipating, but in the event we need another amendment, do we have any flexibility to do that after this one?
We do. You'll notice in the proposed amendment, while there's an explicit extension date until the end of this calendar year, there also is the ability for the executive director to extend it for one additional year if there's unforeseen circumstances, so it doesn't have to come back to this body.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our goal is to bring something high quality that we will all be proud of.
Awesome.
I also did want to add on to that if Director Sloan's comment is completed. Just regarding that too, just kind of about what Director Sloan had mentioned regarding that piece of completing it by the end of the calendar year, is I think also just like I'm also new too, so I'm reviewing it and everything as well. And I think also what would be helpful is like timeline too, to be able to support like as the episodes are flowing and everything, like just being able to like, identify like what's going to be completed at the, by the end of the year too. I think that'd be helpful as a board to just kind of like know how we can like, be supportive in that way. And if an extension is needed too, then we can support that effort as well.
Oh, appreciate it. Yes. Like I said, all 6 episodes are pretty much in rough cut draft right now. One episode is really complete. We're just adding in, we're looking for sponsors right now because we can't deliver it unless we have all our sponsors completed. And sponsors don't want to come on until everything is done also. So, and we're happy to show that one episode that is color corrected. And what I mean by color corrected, rough draft will mean that the colors are not completed, sound has not been sweetened, so it's not really ready for audiences. But we do have one episode that is completed, ready for audience review, and that is what we're showing, and we are working on the other episodes.
Right. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Any more questions or comments for Atrium? Thank you. Yeah, the next item, ma'am.
Item number 4, I noticed in the report from McLeod Watts some comments about how our trust is paying this year and there would not be a draw for our post-employee retirement benefits. And it indicated it was relying on commission staff's budget information for their assessment. So again, I'm relatively new and wanted to know when was the last time the commission has had an audit, and then also, do we have sufficient reserves to continue this type of trust draw towards this expense, and if so, for how many future years? And I don't anticipate an answer today, but wanted to put those into the record.
Sure, and maybe to give a quick answer, the OPEB trust is there for, other than retirement, post-employment benefits. Up till GASB rules came out that required this type of accounting, this type of disclosure. These liabilities were there. When these GASB rules came out, we basically tried to, meet those requirements, and it really takes McLeod Watts or another firm, an actuary, to actually sift through these numbers. It's really complicated. If you ever want to talk about this, we could even, bring Catherine and McLeod Watts to a future meeting. But just in a nutshell, there was significant post-employment benefit liabilities, and what the commission has done for many years now is, one is we disclose the liability. 2, we've been paying into this trust, which is a voluntary trust that we can pay into to help have funding for these liabilities, which are actually current and future liabilities. And so for a while, we were paying around $80,000 a year. Actually, we were paying more into the trust than the minimum even. So with that, what this report is showing now is that we've gotten ourselves into a place where it says that we have a payment this year. It's like $5,000. It's a really small number, and we can either pay that or not pay that and go to the next one. But the good news is we're not paying $80,000 a year anymore. We've paid into this trust. This trust has significantly reduced our liability, and we're in a pretty good place.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you for putting the payment into context as well. Appreciate that.
The next one, number 5.
Okay, number 5, this has to do with the Personnel Policies Manual. I noticed, first of all, thank you for the comprehensive handbook. I understand we've been a little bit delayed over some years. This is nice for our employment workforce, but I wanted to ask about some mentions of part-time employees, their lack of eligibility for vacation and holiday pay, provisions for temporary employment, and then there was the comments about full-time staff being able to cash out their vacation and sick time upon departure. So it posed a question to me, how is our capacity currently? Do our staff feel like we have sufficient resources? Do we anticipate that we may have more part-time or temporary employees? I just want to make sure that we're preserving the staff we have and then making sure that we're not overextending them. If they can't take their sick and vacation time, and they're thinking about cashing it out, that sort of means they're thinking about not being with us. I'd like to get ahead of that.
Okay. One thing I'll point out about a couple things here is that the comprehensive policy manual, very thick as you can see in the agenda packet, was approved. Honestly, I wasn't here. I'm the interim executive director. I guess I didn't introduce myself yet. I'm Robert Davison. I'm interim executive director. This is my first meetings. I did this job for about 16 years or so, and then I retired about a year ago. So anyway, I was asked to come back, and so I'm here again, and I'm happy to be here. With that, and I know the commission benefits are a little bit different than the County of Sacramento, for instance. I worked all these years. For example, management employees at the County of Sacramento are able to cash out half their sick leave upon retirement, and the rest of it goes into the PERS calculation. So Cable Commission has always had a benefit, actually, that they could cash out 1/3 of their retirement. That could be for employees that left. That could be for employees that retired. And I think with the last go-round of the policies, that was taken out. I've always gone, and I know that, the benefits are different than maybe some of the cities and the county. Some of our benefits may be better, some of them may not be better. I don't mind if the commission benefits are a little bit better. Sometimes it's hard to recruit for a little commission like this, So with that, I couldn't find I don't think we found a reason why the policy was changed there. I think it was an inadvertent thing to a more boilerplate policy that maybe had a general policy that a lot of agencies have. So with that, and given that we always had that policy, and also noting that upon retirement there wasn't a sick leave cash out provision, that policy was updated in what's before you today.
So it sounds like we're bringing it up to standard, and I'm just happy to make those comments about our staff. I know we're small but mighty, and just want to make sure we're taking care of them for their longevity.
Yes, and Best Bets and Krieger, they have counsel that helps us with these policies. So Josh, I don't know if you want to add anything to what I said?
No, Bob, I think you covered it. But happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you.
That's good. Any other comments, colleagues, on that item? Number 5. Oh, this is small and mighty. I love that. Good. Okay, number 6 and 7. Madam Clerk, do you have any public comments on this one?
We have no public comments in queue,
Good.
on the phone queue.
The meeting calendar? Would you like to read item number 7?
Oh,
Absolutely.
sorry.
No worries.
Yeah.
Item number 7 is adopt the 2024-25 Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission meeting calendar.
Thank you. Last year, we haven't met since September, and I recognize that sometimes, at least in the meetings I've been to, sometimes we have the elected from our jurisdiction, sometimes we have the alternate. We needed to move some meetings. This is my preface because I'm afraid you guys are going to start throwing tomatoes at me in about 10 seconds here. Maybe just for this year, I'd like to suggest we add a meeting to the calendar. And the way that schedule might occur would be that we move the September meeting to August and then add a meeting in October. So it would be 5 meetings this year. I think it would help with just some continuity and context. And I think we have a lot of work to do this year, and then we maybe wouldn't have as long agendas when we do meet. I don't see any tomatoes coming my way, so.
Though I do want to speak to that if I can. So, and I think it's great input to talk about the meeting scheduling, and if there's the need for more meetings, that's great discussion. I do want to point out that the June meeting is set up at a specific time. That's for proposed budget, and there's certain timelines that we have to meet and such. And in fact, this year there's conflicts with the county, and we likely have to move that meeting, but that's another story. But the September meeting is final budget. And so the problem with an August meeting is that sometimes it's hard to get all the final budget information done and have it in a form that would be, reviewable in a good form anyway to review by the board members. So and just let me tell I know I've done this for a while, so I do know that the time between June and September is just always probably the busiest time for commission staff and stuff. So I really think it's actually a good idea to have the June and the September meeting. Other than that, I think total flexibility. If you want a December or don't want a December because of Christmas and want it in November, I think there is flexibility there. But I just wanted to point out that time between June and September is kind of important.
So I quite strongly agree with Director Sloan's recommendation into adding a fifth meeting into the year. I think that she correctly notes that there's a lot to be done this year. And to preserve that summer timeline, I might recommend that we push the December meeting to January and insert a November meeting to avoid the Christmas problem and also give us a little extra time to work.
Alternate motion?
It's on consent. How do we go about to amending that?
I recommend that it just be approval of the consent calendar as amended.
In that case, that is a motion to amend item 7 to add a November meeting and move the December into January of 2025.
I'll second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
So, members DeScala,
Yes.
thank you. And McCarthy, Martian?
Aye.
Sloan?
Aye.
Riley?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Middleton?
Aye.
Papineau?
Aye.
Nava?
Aye.
Spees?
Aye.
Lee?
Yes.
And Shalom Shirla.
Yes.
And the motion carries with those members present.
Awesome. So we'll have 5 meetings this year, the upcoming year. That's good. That's good. Yes, I agree.
And
Yeah.
to clarify, would that start to 2024 or in 2025 for the record? Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. One more time, any comments from my colleagues here on consent items? Okay, I'm opening for motion on consent item. I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Second. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Members DeScala,
Aye.
Martian,
Aye.
Sloan,
Aye.
Riley,
Aye.
Brown,
Aye.
Middleton,
Aye.
Papineau,
Aye.
Nava,
Aye.
Spees,
Aye.
Lee,
Yes.
and Shalom Shirla.
Yes.
And the motion does carry with those members present.
Awesome. Awesome. I'd like to request my colleagues here, item number 8, selecting the commission chair and the vice chair to 16, if that's okay. That way I can run the business as usual, not to interrupt. And is that okay? I just want to make sure anyone has any objection. If not, I'll move number 8 to the after 16. Madam Clerk, that's a change.
So that would be at the back of the agenda prior to closed session.
Closed session, yes. Awesome.
Duly noted, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And item number 9, Madam Clerk, please call it for record.
So your item number 9 this afternoon, directors, is review of procurement card usage for the period of February 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023. And this is a receive and file.
Okay, good afternoon. Bob Davison again, your executive director. The commission participates in the county's P-card, we call them P-cards, credit card program. We have 2 people on staff that use those credit cards. Jillian Myers, our ASO3, and Kristen Riggs, our production director. They're the P-card holders. As required by the program, they do audits roughly 2 years. They do a 2-year audit every couple of years. This year, I think maybe due to COVID, the audit that they just did goes from February of 2020 to June of 2023. The audit was basically clean. There was one finding, and the finding was that in 2021, a laptop was purchased, and it was purchased, I think, over Amazon, a Dell laptop, as opposed to going through the county vendor. And one of the requirements of the P-card program is that if there's a county vendor, you shouldn't go on Amazon to buy your laptop. So anyway, this finding is noted. I think the reason for this, I was actually executive director at the time. I kind of remember this. And I do remember there were issues with procuring laptops. There were supply chain issues. COVID was rampant. The ASO3 at the time, she was very diligent. She knew that she tried to find out the rules and follow the rules if she knew them. But it's likely in this case that, at that time a mistake was made, and certainly this was purchased. So with that as the finding, I'm glad to say that, there's no other findings on this report for a 3-year period. So I think that's pretty good. Lesson learned on this is, especially new staff, that use the P cards now, is they understand that if there's a county vendor, that you don't use the P card to go buy the same item on Amazon if you see it cheaper or something. You go through the county program. So with that, staff will be trained, and all of the people that touch the P card program will be trained, and so hopefully that kind of mistake won't happen again. And with that, I recommend that you receive and file the Commission procurement card usage report for the period of February 1st, 2020 to June 30th of 2023.
Got it. Thank you. I'm sure it is cheaper than going through our vendor. At least I can say that much. Amazon has a competitive price. It's good for taxpayers. But I duly agree. We have a policy and processes to follow through. Since it's only 2 cards, so we can manage better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any public comments, Madam Clerk, on that item?
And no public comments.
Colleagues, any questions or comments on that report? Okay. It's filed. Item number 10.
So item number 10 is fiscal year 2024 through 25 cablecasting fees. You're going to hear the presentation on the staff report and then provide direction and feedback as necessary.
Okay, and thank you again. And with that, we actually have Kristen Riggs, our production director, who is going to do this presentation, and it will be a PowerPoint presentation. So with that, I'll introduce Kristen, who most of you know, I think. She's there.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. I am here before you in response to some board member inquiries about our fees, and I'm going to present some options, possible options to you about what we're going to be charging in the future for Metro Cable broadcasting services. And we currently cover, if I could have, there's my presentation. Thank you very much in the back. We cover 21 agencies in all, and we do not charge the 7 member agencies. And for anyone who doesn't know, the member agencies are the County Board of Supervisors and 6 of the cities within Sacramento County. We don't have any plans in the future to charge member agencies for services, so that's not on the table here today.
That's a good news, right? Yeah, okay, good.
Exactly, so good for you all. So we currently charge non-member agencies when we send crew out into another location, another control room to record a meeting or cover a meeting. And we also charge Sac City School District a small $30 fee for them to present us with a file that we air. They record it themselves. So this slide is showing a quick overview of the 4 possible fee options, and it's for your consideration and input. That's what I'm trying to garner today. how we can move forward. And I'll go into more details on each of these options later. So the first option on the left, the orange, is to charge all the non-member agencies the actual cost of broadcasting services and support, and that's 13 total agencies. And the second option is to charge all non-member agencies a partial cost, a flat fee to make it easier for broadcasting services and support. The third option is to charge just the currently contracted agencies, that's 4 agencies, based on an increased flat fee that's the average of the actual cost to cover those meetings. And then the fourth option is to leave everything as is, no fee increase to the 4 currently contracted non-member agencies. So again, there were some board members who had questions about our fees and ways to raise revenue for the commission and whether or not Metro Cable should charge more. And that was based upon the bullet points right here. The decrease in cable subscriber revenue over the past probably decade or so. There have been a lot less subscribers. There are higher staffing and captioning costs. And Metro Cable is only charging 4 agencies out of the 13 non-member agencies to broadcast on our channel. So a little bit of background on our rates. Again, the member agencies aren't charged, and the cost to provide services for the Board of Supervisors and City Council meetings is approximately $160,000 a year. The 9 member agencies that we broadcast here in the Board of Supervisors chambers, we haven't charged anyone when they meet here. Also in the past, we used to charge for non-member agency meetings when we had an active production van. That van was dismantled in 2019, but we used to itemize and bill agencies for that. And it was a pretty intense process to do. And in 2018, we simplified the billing to a flat fee of $200 for the 3 non-member agencies with off-site locations. And just a note, the reason we chose that $200 was for the years 2014 to 2018, approximately $8,900 was what we were billing those agencies. So $200 was about the right price at that time for an average meeting. And it was a lot easier to standardize it to a $200 flat rate for billing purposes. And the $30 that we charge for schools to give us a video file that they record, that covers about 1 hour of the programming coordinator's time to, intake, schedule, process, schedule that meeting to play on our channel and upload it to YouTube. So the orange area here on the graph is showing the actual annual cost to broadcast 13 non-member agencies. So that's $42,000 approximately. So that's the 13 agencies. And the actual cost is based upon part-time employee and full-time employee time for setup, recording, breakdown, scheduling, and the programming, as well as the cost of closed captioning. And we didn't add in our assessment and we didn't factor in mileage, maintenance, technical support, or administrative time for billing in the calculations for how much it costs us to broadcast these agencies. So potentially there's about $31,774 that we're not charging for that we could for actual cost. And here's a little breakdown of the actual cost. 6 of the meetings currently range from about $255 to $269. The 5 longer meetings trend toward $423, and that's SAC Sewer District, Environmental Commission, First Five Commission, Sacramento Municipal Utility District, and Regional Transit District. Those tend to be the longer ones. And it's based on how long setup is and breakdown and some other factors. So we looked at the 2022 meeting statistics to assess what these costs were. It's based on the actual average time of the meetings that happened. And here's each agency and what their average meeting was. On the orange is what the actual cost is, and it corresponds to each of the numbers below. On the left, 4, those are the 4 currently contracted agencies that we bill for services, and the rest are just the non-member agencies that meet in the chambers here. So the orange actual cost. The green is if we were to do a partial fee, that would be the $200 kind of subsidized rate. And then the average base cost of about an hour meeting with captioning is $263 if you averaged it. And then the average actual cost, $332. And I'm going to go over the 4 possible fee options that we're proposing you consider. So option 1 is the maximum revenue. It's to charge all the non-member agencies the full cost of broadcasting services. And the positives for that would be the commission receives the most revenue to offset the higher operating costs. There's higher general revenue distribution to the member agencies and to channel licensees. And the negative would be that agencies might opt out of broadcasting. It might be a shock to the ones who've never paid before to pay even to pay that actual full cost. And there would be a higher administrative burden because there's going to be 9 more agencies to bill and have annual cablecasting agreements drafted and signed. So option 2 is a little less revenue. That would be the $200 flat fee or just $40 for a file to be submitted for broadcast. The upside would be once all the agencies have contracts in place, the billing would be a flat rate. It'd be a little bit simpler, and it's not a huge cost to the agencies, and it's some additional revenue for the commission. And the downside, again, agencies might balk at a $200 flat rate. The $40 fee for the file, I can't imagine is going to be an issue for Sac City School District or somebody else who submits a file for us, but just putting that out there. And the commission is still going to cover the burden of captioning and higher staffing costs. Option 3 would be to charge the 4 current non-member agencies that we already charge an increased flat rate based upon what the actual meeting costs. So the $323 average meeting. And $45 would be the full cost for a file to be submitted to us to broadcast on our channel. So the positives would be the commission receives slightly more revenue to offset higher operating costs. The contracted non-member agencies absorb a moderate fee increase, and there's no change to our billing process. And the negatives would be a minimal increase in revenue for the member agencies and commission, and agencies may not want to pay more. So, and 4th option, no change at all, would be to leave everything as is, charging the $200 per meeting when we go out to a control room to record, and $30 for the file. The positive is the commission, we receive no more, that's not really a positive, but we don't receive any more revenue. We just, it is as is. And the contracted agencies, they don't have to see a fee increase. And our billing process doesn't change, so that's a positive. The con is decreasing revenue for the member agencies and the commission. And next, I'll show you the potential revenue and how it compares, like visually. That might help. So the orange option on the left is the actual cost based on the length or average length of meetings for the 13 agencies. And option 2, the revenue would be $25,600 annually, and that's for the $200 flat rate and the $40 file. And that's, again, 13 agencies being charged. Option 3 would be the average flat rate of $332 and $45 per file. And option 4 is the same as we're billing now, $200 flat fee and $30 per file. So those would be the choices. Another way to look at it is here, just in a table format. So far, the cost to operate our mobile flight pack hasn't been factored into this discussion, so that's another thing that I'm going to need your direction and input on. So the flight pack, hopefully most people know what that is, our mobile flight pack. We used PEG grant monies to make we call it a pack, but it's an amalgam of equipment that we've gathered that we can transport it fairly easily. Some of them fit into small cases that can be rolled and put in our transit van. So we take these out to locations that don't have a control room, and it's a pretty labor-intensive process, so the cost is going to be a little higher on that. So some questions, the main question that I have about the flight pack usage is, are we going to charge more for that because it costs so much more to go out and cover meetings at locations that don't have control rooms? And then the other option is just charge the same rate that we're going to be charging for any other meeting. Like right now, it would be a $200 flat fee. So that's one of the questions I'll need some direction on. And some more about the flight pack. Should we charge full or partial cost? We've only used it 3 times so far. It's fairly new for us. We had the full kit finally in 2023. All the pieces were here. The places we've used it were Sacramento Fire. We went to 2 of their firehouses, and we went to the Sac Sewer District location. So the cost is about $1,400 to $1,700 to use that flight pack. It takes a lot of time to go out and do site surveys and testing. It takes a lot of crew, so we can only do that so many times per month, or we just don't have the resources to do more than that. The positives of charging the full rate would be the commission's going to receive more revenue, obviously, and that could range from $5,000 to $10,000. It just depends on how often it gets used. And then the negative for charging the full rate is it's absolutely going to discourage agencies from being broadcast if they see a bill coming for $1,400 to $1,700. So, and again, it can only be used when we have the crew and the time available, given our schedule of meetings. So to recap, we're seeking direction from the commissioners on the following 4 items. And if an increase is what the board would like to see, then we'll need to give the non-member agencies a heads up about a change to their budget. They'll have to budget for it. And our July 1st is our new budget year. So the direction is, number 1, what fees are going to be paid by the 4 non-member agencies that currently pay the flat fee. Number 2, fees to be paid by the non-member agencies with meetings held in the board chambers. Number 3, fees to be paid by non-member agencies for the mobile flight pack. And then the fees to be paid by an agency that submits a finished video file. And our recommendation from our perspective, we find that keeping the current cable casting rates is preferable. Option 4 would be our suggestion. And the reasons are that compared to the overall operations of Metro Cable, the increasing fee is not going to have a huge impact. So covering the member agencies is about 4 times as costly as covering the non-member agencies. So that was about $160,000 to cover member agencies. And managing a more complex fee schedule, if we have all these other agencies and we're billing them for actual cost, we'd have to add 9 additional cable casting billing agreements each year. The higher fees might discourage some agencies from being broadcast. And most of the non-member agencies are actually like extensions. They have members that sit on that are actually from our member agencies. So that would be one reason that it wouldn't make sense to charge the non-member agencies. We do want to encourage transparency, and the more agencies that want to be broadcast, that's great. But here I am just asking for your input and direction and what your thoughts are so we know how to move forward.
Thank you, Christine. It's a wonderful presentation. You know, I've been here for the last 2-3 years, but this is so good. I was wondering also how much, my city of Folsom was paying. Anyway, quick, before I go to my colleagues, Madam Clerk, do you have anybody on the phone or public comments?
No public comments on the phone.
Okay, I will come back to our colleagues. It's very interesting, and please.
I'll get the hang of this. Thank you for the presentation. I would just like to acknowledge how important the services that we're providing in terms of public access to their public agency meetings. And so I would certainly not want to deter somebody from broadcasting their meeting or reducing the public's access to understanding what their various governments are doing. That said, I also am a little hesitant to not pursue a little bit better cost recovery on some of the additional services. So I get that many of the jurisdictions have budget cycles similar to the counties, and so we're sort of mid-year to be bringing this forward. Might seem strange, but if we were to bring this back at another time, I'd be curious to know if we have done any polling of our jurisdictions to see if they would be comfortable, of our members and non-members, to see if they have a comfort level for a 5 or 10% increase. And then I'd also be interested in asking our council to explore some type of opportunity for non-members to request a waiver if indeed it was cost infeasible for them to pay the increase, so that for those that could, potentially we gain some revenue, whether this goes into some social enterprise for the commission to be able to do more programming or be able to cover the cost of our mobile services so that it's a little bit less to the agencies that would be paying that. It just seems like there are a lot of opportunities for the betterment of our efforts from even a slight increase.
I absolutely see your perspective on that. We have not reached out to the agencies. We didn't want to get anybody worried before we knew what the commission wanted to see, but we're absolutely prepared to reach out and poll them based upon everybody's input.
Well, I'd like to hear from the rest of my colleagues, and I'm not necessarily offering option 5. Yeah. I'm suggesting maybe we proceed with option 4, and in the coming year we do some homework to gather information, so we're almost giving our members a full year of warning that maybe there's going to be a small increase, and then explaining to them what the benefits would be to our service to them.
Right.
That absolutely makes sense.
Got it. Right.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I have a couple of questions, starting with the flight pack cost. So I know that we only have it fairly recently. Do you think that the 3 usages per year is going to be pretty standard going forward? Do you have any estimation on the annual usage we can expect moving forward?
Hard to say.
Yeah.
I don't know yet. There have been some agencies that have gotten fairly excited about at Fire for a while. They were actually having a transition where they couldn't use their control room, and that was one reason why for about a month or two that they didn't have access to it. So the flight pack made a lot of sense at that point. And Sac Sewer is talking about possibly moving the location of their meeting. I don't know if that's happening, so they might need more help out there on location until they get their own control room, which might happen.
Okay. So that's definitely difficult to predict at this point, I think. And looking at the cost at between 1.4 and 1.7 per meeting, is that just inclusive of the staff costs, or is that also inclusive? I understand that the pack itself was fairly expensive. Does that include like an amortization of the equipment itself over time, or is it only staff cost?
It is only staff cost and captioning cost if applicable, if there is captioning.
Okay, that makes sense. I appreciate your answers on that, and I did some very quick back-of-the-napkin math as we were talking here, and looking at the potential fee recovery, even if we pursue option 1 at a full fee recovery, $31,000, it's about 0.2% of our general fund. And as I'm looking at that in context, I have to kind of consider that we as an agency are providing a service not only to the community for access to all of these governing boards and the streams and whatnot, but we're also providing a service to our member agencies and our non-member agencies, as the case may be. And the goal ultimately is to incentivize transparency and governance by providing an easy and accessible place for folks to find all of this information, these streams, these archives, these broadcasts, all in one place. And so for that reason, and for the relatively small scale of the potential fee recovery, I would personally lean quite strongly towards the staff recommendation of option 4, with the potential discussion, as noted by Director Sloan, looking at maybe in the next year. But for the moment now, my preference for direction would be to go with the staff recommendation. And thank you.
Awesome. Any other members? Yes.
Figure this thing out. Hi, thank you, Kristen. Just a question. So we currently charge 4 non-member agencies and not the other 9.
Correct. Right. The
So-
ones that meet in this board
Right.
chamber, 9 of them, they are not charged anything. We
So-
charge SMUD and RT and schools and Metro Fire, Sac Metro Fire.
So have the 4 agencies ever said anything about the others getting and not getting no charge? Or just,
So far, no. They might
Yeah.
now.
what's the chatter out there? Right?
Their
might now,
meeting
but
can be free if they
If
can
they're
move
watching
here.
this.
But just to give you a little historic perspective, we used to itemize for everything. We had a production van for quite a while. And it aged out in 2019, it aged out. But we used to itemize and bill for everything. So we previously, with the production van, back before 2018, we would get maybe $21,000 a year instead of the $8,900, which was 2014 to 18 was about $8,900 revenue.
Right.
So we used to bill for more, but the process of the billing was pretty laborious.
Okay, and then, and I do like the idea of doing some outreach to see what the appetite is, because although we're not here for profit, I think a little bit of revenue recovery, I mean, it's always good to look at that. How can we make, especially if it's labor-intensive items, like the flight pack, I think we should think about what that could look like, maybe not $1,500 a use, but something. But I do like the outreach component for maybe a year from now, and perhaps even looking at a hybrid of option 3, option 2, where you're charging a flat fee to all of them, but maybe something that's palatable. And if we're hearing pushback, because I know everything's going up for everybody right now, then we can reconsider that and talk about it. But definitely on board for the outreach.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of what's been said, and I do think a little bit of revenue recovery is nice. I'm certainly not interested in option 1, where we're creating an undue administrative burden on staff for a relatively small amount of revenue recovery. But I do think it would be nice to see some parity between the different agencies. And I agree with kind of what Lisa brought up, even if they haven't come to us yet. I think having certain agencies like Regional Transit that does include all members of this body as well, paying more than all the others. And while they are at a different location, I also know from what I hear that a big part of it is staff time. So you guys are having to put the staff time in, whether it's here or whether it's at Regional Transit. So I'm certainly open to option 4, but I think probably right now I would be most interested in option 2, whether that is at this moment or delayed until we can do outreach to other agencies. Just in your professional opinion, the flight pack, do you think agencies would be using that at a $1,500 cost? I have a hard time seeing that be the case, if I'm being honest. And so while I understand it was expensive and we do want some revenue recovery, I also don't want us to buy a really expensive piece of equipment that we never use. So I think maybe moving forward on that, maybe you have it on par with the other meetings. So we have the option. We still get some revenue recovery there, but it's basically on par with our other meetings. So looking forward to hear from the rest of the board.
Thank you.
So you are recommending option 2? Yeah. Something like that. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. I guess, so I appreciate the comments of Director Riley, because for me, honestly, I'm at 1. I don't understand why we wouldn't charge everybody equally or not equally, but with due to the level of what they're getting, right? I mean, everybody carries their fair share. I'm kind of having a difficult time understanding why we wouldn't. I do understand there's administrative costs that happen because you have to do some billing and accounting. I get that, but it seems genuinely unfair for everybody not to be carrying their own load. So, I mean, I can go between 1 and 2, and I can certainly go with, more closer to an option 5 where we have a conversation with them. But I think each of them should understand that our costs are no different than their costs. They're escalated and gone through the roof. And if they can't understand that, I'm happy to have a conversation with them. If it's too much of an administrative burden, I get it, but I'm a little surprised. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was just going to point out that we do bring up an administrative burden, and that is there. And the other reason is whether these entities are like member agencies, and they're extensions of member agencies, and the franchise fees come in, we pay for Metro Cable, and Metro Cable does, the city councils and the county meetings. Sure. We do the other meetings, and so then just the question is, are those meetings more like a member agency meeting, and should we not charge them for the same reasons and also bring more transparency? Or, and I think they're just as valid concerns that you're bringing up, sure. Or should, they may be like a member agency, right. But they're not, and I hear with RT, they're kind of like the other ones. They just don't happen to be in the board chambers, so we charge them, but we don't charge the ones in the board chambers. It's not perfect.
Sure.
But we certainly, we're trying to present all the facts and all the information, and definitely want to hear the input. I just wanted to make sure you understood the other argument on that side of it.
For sure, and I appreciate it. I hope I didn't come across too strong. I'm simply trying to figure out why we wouldn't all carry our share of the load for the wonderful services that we're using, right? So, like I said, I can go with a 1, maybe a higher 2, with let's have a conversation with them. But I'm sure they understand that our costs have escalated just as theirs are, and we shouldn't. The member agencies shouldn't be carrying a higher load than the non-members, right?
Say that again, the last one?
Well, and I may have put that. What I'm saying is it has to be fair to the member agencies as well. And being fair, that means the non-member agencies need to carry their share of the load.
Okay.
Right? Anyway, I don't know that it's provided any more clarity to the overall issue, but I'm not unhappy. I'm just trying to put my head about why we wouldn't have everybody sharing their own load.
Right. So 1 or 2 or 5, something like that. Okay, got it.
1, 2 with 5. I don't know.
1 or 2 or 5.
I mean, let's have a longer conversation. I think it makes sense, but have the conversations with the agencies.
Can I just follow up on the comments made by Director Spees? the non-member agencies, if they are indeed somewhat associated with our members, it's still an additional meeting and additional staff time to cover those meetings, right?
Yeah.
So there might be some need to explore with our members, whatever option we're on that has some small increase across the board. And I'd also be curious to know, members or non-member, I mean, I guess it's just the non-members that some are paying $200 a meeting, but is $200 a meeting cost prohibitive for providing this service to the public to access their meetings? So I guess I'd like to make a motion to put this over to one more meeting so that we have an opportunity to have staff come back to us with some version of a work plan to address the questions that were raised in terms of threshold of appetite from the members for a slight increase, threshold of appetite from the non-members to all pay $200, and then maybe our future action is to go ahead with one or two, but to delay the implementation to give more notice. I mean, these are the things I'd like us to have more time to think and consider.
Yeah, I'll have some comments on that too. But Ryan, please.
And also a brief follow-up question. I really appreciated the points brought up by Directors Riley and Speece in terms of what can we do in terms of making this fair. And my biggest concern over this is whether or not a raise in fees, even to recoup cost or to increase it to a flat fee, if that would disincentivize or have them stop televising with us effectively. And I think that's really also what Director Sloan's trying to find out. And I think that would be worthwhile to pursue really quickly. But Kristen, Bob, your professional opinions, do you think that would be a problem? Do you think that an increase to $200 or $400 would stop these agencies or JPAs from televising with us?
Do you want to?
I personally wouldn't think that it would, as long as we give agencies enough time to, digest that and plan their budgets.
Okay. In that case, I think that I would second Director Sloan's motion to put this off after a conversation with our members.
And directors, there's no vote on this. You can recommend that to staff.
Before that, I want to make sure other directors has any comments. Please. Kevin.
Okay, won't turn on. Is it on?
Yeah.
Buttons on. None of them will work.
None of them are working.
Oh, now we're working.
Now we're all on.
Okay. Now everybody's on. All right.
Technology.
Yeah, just kind of follow on to what was just said. We talked about what percentage of our budget this would mean, even if we went with option one. When we have the next discussion, if we could look at, what percentage this change would be to the different agency budgets, is it, really consequential? Because I think that minimally, we should at least be considering what our costs have gone up since 2018 when we last adjusted our rates. So I would just add that to the discussion, and I'd be happy to continue this as stated.
Got it. Thank you. Anyone else? This side. Okay. So my comments are, before we go on vote on the motion, I was talking to Bob, our executive director. I think as Rebecca mentioned at the beginning, these are public meetings. We want more citizens to watch what these governments are doing. Be open, right? So that's what, I was talking to Bob. And if Kevin is here, is there a way we can see how the viewership on these programs? City of Folsom, I just want to speak for City of Folsom. When our meetings goes on replays, the viewership is very high, thousands. Right? So it's important, how much they are paying, but what is the return on investment, right? So even the flight pack and all our equipment, it is for citizens, giving transparency and accessibility and all those. And we can put the COVID also into that, right? Even they don't have to come. And also I was talking to our director, see whether we can bring more members to our channel. more and make this as a one-stop shop rather than some people go here, some people go there, all those things. I was talking this morning with my school board, Folsom Cordova School District, and I made this proposal in front of the executive director and the chair, and they both said, right now we are screening this one on the YouTube, but we love to cast this one through your cable as another option. It's not that they're going to take out their cable, whatever they're doing today. That way, if a viewer from Folsom or Rancho Cordova, I'm sure Rancho is doing the same thing on my Citrus friends and everybody. Oh, city council meetings, school board, it's all at same place. They can view and replay. So that's what I'm requesting. See whether even they can supply a file so that we can upload. We don't have to go all our people. So knowing that one, I'm also going with, even though the option 5 is not here, it is a format of giving a heads up is one. We are thinking as a board, as a commission, and also think, Bob, you have been here for a long time, $200 per meeting was set up when? A decade, 2 decades ago?
No, it was set up about 4 or 5 years ago.
2018.
2018? Oh, yeah, that's what you mean. Well, that's before COVID. After COVID, it's 2 different things,
Yeah.
2 different worlds, everything double, right? So, yeah. So we probably, if we are going in the direction based on what our commissioners, I'm hearing majority, even slightly increasing the flat rate is also advised, because anyway we are going with a proposal. Think on that one as well when you go to and gather more information from our member agencies. So that's my recommendation. Since this is not an actionable thing, is 3 months or 6 months, when can we bring this back? But before that, you have to go and talk to our member agencies, though.
Yeah. I would say that because next meeting is the June budget meeting, that it might be. I mean, we can go work on this, and we can just, maybe staff can just bring it back either June or September, what's ever working best. I mean, I'd hate to cut it short. I just know that doing all the work for June does take a lot. So,
Yeah.
So maybe September.
No, I want to make sure, because they have a budget coming up. But in the meantime, I would like you to start communicating with member agencies and test the pulse.
One correction, not correction, one clarification. When we say member agencies, do you want us to communicate with the entities that we're thinking about charging, which we're calling them the non-member agencies, or are you saying contact the member agencies too and find out what they think? The member agencies being your city councils and county board. County.
Yeah, all.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Kevin, I think that's what, everyone should be in a position to carry the load. That's how we were discussing. At least talking to them and see. But dropping from the cable commission is not the option we are putting anywhere there. No, we want more people, bringing them on. That's my wish.
Sure.
Good. Are you clear? Christine, are we good with the inputs
so.
we are giving? I know we bounced on number 1 option, number 2 option, but majority, we are getting number 5, even though it's not there.
That's fine.
Right? So, which means, I think next few, we are not increasing the charges right now for...
Right. I expected to come back another time.
Yes.
Based upon what your opinions were, so it's all good.
Awesome. And also one comment on the flight pack also. I saw, when Kevin was displaying that one the other day, I think last meeting or last before one, are we communicating with the global reach? Hey, we have this kind of feature or capability, and whether you are willing to, whether it is $1,700 or $200, we'll come to that one later. But at least our goal is be open, and some important meetings must be broadcasted. Are we reaching out to all the agencies, at least telling them we have flight pack?
We haven't done a advertising blast on it yet. The 3 that we held in last year they felt like test runs for us, so we were just seeing, trying to get a feel for how often we'd be able to do it. And then we assumed that there would be requests coming in. So we'll eventually move toward promoting it more, but we were just taking it a little slow at the start.
Yeah, okay. Got it. At least once they know it, then whether, based on the importance of the meeting, that's the only thing I have. Because we have thousands of dollars of equipment sitting there. After 5 years, the technology is gone, right? That's how the technology is. Anyway, thank you again for the presentation. Before that, did I ask the public comments?
You didn't, and there
I
are
did?
no public comments. But Chair, for the record, I'd like to mention that Director McCarthy Olmsted she's in the meeting, and she arrived at 3:25 p.m., so she is here.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. Good. Thank you, directors and colleagues, it's a very fruitful discussion. Madam Clerk, please call item number 11 for
Yes,
records.
sir. Directors, your item number 11 is to discuss potential SAC Live TV channel licensee funding.
Thanks, Chair. I'll be presenting this item. So the Cable Commission, we have 4 channel licensees which operate PEG channels. In addition to having the ability to operate that PEG channel, channel licensees generally receive both franchise and PEG dollars from the Commission. The one exception to that general rule is what was formerly known as SAC Faith TV, which is currently known as SAC Life TV. SAC Life TV receives a PEG channel but does not receive general franchise or PEG funding. The historical rationale for that has been that doing so would be a violation of a California constitutional provision, which is called a no-aid clause, which basically says that in California, public agencies cannot provide funding for religious or sectarian purposes. Importantly, this restriction is stricter than what you are used to under the federal Constitution, which just has an establishment clause. These no-aid clauses are generally a state constitutional issue, and there are a number of states that have similar provisions to California. So over a year ago now, the Commission received a funding request from Ron Herman on behalf of SAC Life TV for us to potentially reevaluate our historical position. We've spent a lot of time reviewing documents that they provided, working with Mr. Herman and his organization, and we appreciate his patience as we've gone through that process. As a result of that, we really looked at 2 issues, and the first is, is SAC Life TV, given its switch from SAC Faith TV, no longer a sectarian organization, so that this issue is no longer an issue? And then the second issue would be there has been some U.S. Supreme Court cases which have come down recently, which have taken a strong look at the validity of similar no-aid clauses in other states and other situations. So has that U.S. Supreme Court case law changed the rules that we're operating under? So to answer the first question, whether SAC Life TV is a sectarian organization, it's our opinion, based on the information that's been provided and as they're operating the channel today, that they are. And that's largely through just a review of what programming is currently provided. It is substantially, if not exclusively, sectarian based on the information that we had a chance to review. We understand that Mr. Herman may look to expand non-sectarian offerings in the future, and in the future we may want to reevaluate that conclusion. But as the channel is operating today, even with the shift from SAC Faith TV to SAC Life TV, we do believe it's a sectarian channel. So the second question would be, does the U.S. Supreme Court cases change our view of the enforceability of the California no-aid clause? And there's a little bit more detail in the packet, but what our take is at this point that's not the case. That while a future U.S. Supreme Court case may provide greater clarity in this area, the current case law isn't so strong as to completely invalidate the no-aid clause in California. So it is our opinion that at this point, we would not recommend a change from our historical practice of providing general franchise and PEG funding to SAC Life TV, and that's because we believe doing so would be a violation of the California constitutional provision on providing aid to a sectarian organization for sectarian purposes. Before I stop to answer any questions, I wanted to add a couple of additional notes. I think I've already mentioned this. This conclusion is based on the case law as it exists today. If there is a future U.S. Supreme Court case that changes the rules, we would reevaluate it. I think the second, and really important for your next agenda item, this does not mean that the Commission cannot provide funding to SAC Life TV under any circumstances. Quite the contrary. What it means is we can only not provide them general PEG and franchise fee dollars. So your next item is a consideration of a community grant program. Previously on your agenda, you had an extension of your Atrium 916, which is a similar one-off type of that situation. If SAC Life TV were to apply to this commission to receive funding to produce non-sectarian programming, that absolutely would be an appropriate use of funds if the commission felt it wished to move forward that way. The last thing I had was just that Mr. Herman is in the audience. I know he'll like to address the commission. His full funding application that he submitted to staff is included in your packet for reference. And in addition, it's my understanding he has a video he'd like to show at some point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you again. But before we go, did we clarify to SAC Faith TV, Josh, what is the criteria? These are the check boxes we should be checking before even we can say yes for the general PEG funds. Am I making sense?
Yeah, so we did meet with Mr. Herman before this item was presented, just so he was aware of where we were coming. One of the questions he had was, is there a percentage of programming where I will qualify? And I, unfortunately, and this is one where, kind of a legal answer, no, it really depends on the circumstances of each situation. I can't tell you that if it was 51 that we'd be okay. We'd really want to look at the totality of the situation to say, hey, do we believe that this is really a sectarian organization currently? I would, excuse me, I would say that based on their current programming offerings, it was not a tough question for us, just given that it is, substantially, if not exclusively sectarian as it exists today.
Got it. Thank you. Good. Bob, do you have anything, or I can call Ron?
No, go. Please call Ron.
Okay. I do have a few speakers. Before, Ron, you want to come and, share? And oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I'll wait for public comment.
Public comments? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I thank you for the committee going over the information, and we're a little disappointed that they came up to that conclusion. We had some thoughts on that, though. When we first approached the committee last year, we wanted to have some criteria. One of it was to basically become more community-oriented and mix the programming up, but it takes time to do that. We went into effect to become SAC Live TV at the beginning of this year, and the first things we did to establish that was to get all our paperwork with our state of California and our IRS together. So legally on the paperwork for the government papers, we're no longer a faith-based organization. We're a community outreach organization. So if you were to judge us on that alone, we wouldn't be a faith-based organization any longer. Secondly, one of the number one things that was put into their denial was, would the request involve funding sectarian purposes? It is true that right now that we have almost a full schedule of faith-based programming, and that is because that's what we came from. And as you know, it takes time to filter out and put in other programming. I have about 60% of my programming right now is filler program. That's programming that is not paid for, just to fill in the slots. And I'm in the process of changing those out with more community and outreach organization, but that takes time. And in terms of would the request involve funding secular purposes, if we were to get funded by this organization, by the Cable Commission, if you had a chance to look over the budget requests we put in, everything in my budget request is going towards secular programming for our community. We've got we want to do 8 programs. Last year, as I'll show you in a minute in the video, we did programming in the community. We went out and did outreach for the community, which really had a really strong response back to us that was a good thing. I've got requests this year to do that I cannot do without funding, because last year we dipped into our own funding to do that, to give an example of what the station could be. And this year to continue that would actually bankrupt the station unless we had funding from this committee. And this committee funding, like I said, would not go towards faith-based programming. Everything in our request for funding would go to develop shows that are community-oriented, are nonprofits, and everything of that caliber that would go into our programming to do that delusion of faith to community, so we could be a little bit of both. I know that our other PEG stations here in Sacramento, they have faith-based programming. I don't know what the percentage is, but they have both faith and community things going on as well. And the first time in 30 years that we've been doing this, we're actually working with the Access Sacramento and working with them to help produce some of this. Donna and her staff over there with Lorraine have been wonderful to work with us. They've been open to arms to us, and partially the monies that would come to sponsor us would also filter down to them as they have the studio and we do some of our programming there. We are right now in process of building some good content. We have events like the Sacramento Historical Society with Greg Lukenbill is developing a show that's the history of Sacramento, kind of Rob on the Road that they have over at Channel 6. This is the history of Sacramento that they're putting together. Sac Life Eats is a program we're trying to develop, which is a cooking show, but it's not just cooking. We're talking about having people in our community be on guests that are cook with us, and we're looking at their ethnicity. It's a story about their food, but also their background. We all know that that people become enemies or prejudice of people because they don't know about who they are and where they come from. This is a show to break down those barriers and get us to know each other. On the Mat is a show with our vets to talk about the vets and their problems with PTSD. Calvin's Playtime is a local show developed with puppets that's for kids, that's similar to Sesame Street, but it's for Sacramento area. Powerhouse Podcast. This is a podcast that we're right now in development. We've had our first 2 episodes cut at Access Sacramento with their help, and that is a talk show that talks about what's going on in our community, from the homelessness to CCW and bail reform, to our borders and people coming in. This will be a show that'll have lots of controversy. We expect a lot of hate mail, but with a lot of hate mail, I expect a lot of people to enjoy that those subjects are coming to light. So these are just the things that we're trying to develop, but we can't do it without your funding. The second part of this being that we're talking about the Supreme Court. I'd like to have John Riga, a businessman here in Sacramento, and also has been looking into this. He's also on our board of directors. If he could come up, I yield the floor to him.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. Ron brings up some good points, and he's been working very diligently and very hard to meet the criteria that is necessary to obtain funding. But the question that I had to Ron, and I've asked him several times, and I've looked myself, is what is that criteria? What is the baseline, the minimum criteria that he needs to have to qualify? Now, I understand, faith-based programming is very limiting from what has been proposed or what's out there. But there's a transition at Sac Life TV from Sac Faith TV, and Sac Faith TV should not be looked at as part of Sac Life TV moving forward. Ron's programming moving forward is everything from arts and entertainment to local zoos and everything in between, as he said. The funding exists through private resources to produce some of these programs, which I think is what is wanted to be seen in order to qualify him for funding. I guess one of the questions I have is, where's the criteria printed or published that Ron needs to work to? Because if funding is provided to produce content with the goal of meeting the criteria to get funding, we need to know what that is. We need to know what that criteria is, so we don't take loans out or receive funding to produce content which has to be paid back later because they're loans. What I would ask to be considered is that once that content is produced, to retroactively fund Sac Life TV through the commission. So first question is, where can I look up what the criteria is? Where is it published, or where is it presented on what is required to receive funding?
Yeah. Josh, do you have any comments on that one, or we can have one more session with them to have a discussions?
defer to you, Chair. I'm happy to answer that, or we can answer, or I can respond after all the commenters have spoken. It's up to you.
Got it. Okay. Yep. Give us some more time. I think once all the speakers' public comments is completed, we will definitely. That's what the question I'm asking.
That will be provided
also.
today?
Yeah.
Okay, then second question is, if in fact, either myself, if I provide funding as a board member of SAC Life TV, or if we get third-party funding, can that be retroactively paid back to SAC Life TV once they qualify?
1 second. Kevin, you have a comment?
I did. I just wanted to be clear on what you would be providing today
So
is
I
an
won't-
answer, not about what the criteria is. I wanted to be very, very
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we
clear
will not
about-
be in a position to
Not
provide
the criteria,
today.
the answer
I can provide a
at the end.
response
Yep.
to that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it won't be provided today, but where is it published, or where can I look it up? Because there should be some public document that exists which anyone can look at and say, this is what we need to do to qualify for funding.
Chair, this is, it's your call, but this is turning into a little bit of a back and forth and sort of beyond the scope of general public comment.
Yeah. Ron, I think not Ron, sorry. John, I'm sorry. Here, Ron. When you guys were meeting with the staff, I'm sure you had these discussions with them. Is this the first time you are bringing this question, or you already had
It's the first time I'm bringing the question to the commission, yes.
Okay.
I had that question for the council, and they didn't have an answer for me at that time.
Okay, got it. So since this is the public comment, because this is a general PEG funds request, there should be already a criteria exist, because there are already 3 or 4 members receiving the funding, and the criteria should be already there. But before that,
I assumed it was, and I've looked and searched myself, and I've asked Ron, and I took my own time to search, and I can't find it anywhere. It's very ambiguous.
yeah, since this is the public comments you guys are giving, let me call a couple of more people. At the end, I'll ask Josh to answer the questions.
Okay,
for
and then the other
public.
question that I had was, is it possible for the commission to consider compensating back Sacramento Life TV if we get third-party funding to produce the comment which meets the criteria? While SAC Life TV may have some faith-based programming provided by third-party entities, almost exclusively the production and the content that's produced by SAC Life TV will be of public interest. And like I said, everything from arts and entertainment to the local zoos. And so that'll be non-sectarian and all-inclusive of the viewing public.
Yeah. So the point you are making, are we going to pay back later? So first you have to qualify or not. That has to be decided before we go to the second question. So let me call the second reader, and we will definitely be providing some information on this one.
Robert Jones is on the second one there. He is not present today, so we'll take him off the agenda.
And David Lowe is here. David?
That's for item 13?
Oh, item 13. Yes.
Oh,
that's the,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, John was the only speaker for myself.
Yeah.
And,
got it.
And then in terms of the Supreme Court rulings that you put out there, we have consulted with the constitutional lawyer at the Pacific Justice Institute that is very familiar with the decision that your counsel has relied upon. And he respectfully disagrees and also believes you have a problem with unbridled discretion. And we could talk about that at an off time with between the lawyers and discuss how that could be resolved. So, when I first started this last year, the criteria that I was understanding was it wasn't so much my schedule, but was the paperwork that's for the government paperwork with the IRS and for the state legislative paperwork, which went from faith-based to now community. So all that shows us that we're not faith-based. And then the only other aspect that I see as the issue is our programming. And to change the programming, we need to have some budgeting to help us continue on with that. In closing, I want to show you a video here real quick of what we did last year and what you have to look forward to as we have changed from SAC Live to SAC Faith TV. If you could show that video, please. Sacramento Faith TV has been in the process of transitioning to SAC Life. This transition will take place January 1st, 2024 as we unveil our new format. Sac Live TV will explore Sacramento's community, focusing on nonprofits, community events, community outreach, music, health and fitness, and of course, faith. Here's an example of what we've been able to do with limited funding and borrowed equipment.
Our mission here is a free daycare for the working poor, and we have about 50 children under the age of 5 in the free daycare, and we serve the communities around here.
Do you recognize that despite the medical advancement that we have, there's still so many people who are sick and tired?
Well, folks, what this study found was when couples argue, fuss, and fight, it leads to an exaggerated inflammatory response, and this is the type of inflammation associated with serious disease.
Yeah, that's right. It's today the day my daughter, my son is coming back to me.
I'm a Holocaust survivor, not one, but twice.
Somebody shout with me, thank God for love.
What is this beast that keeps reappearing in the books of Revelation and Daniel?
I want you guys all here praying that we unify every church in Sacramento for the glory of God.
Imagine what we'll be able to do when you approve funding for your Inspiration Station. So in closing, my final comments are that as we do this transition, we need, it's like a snake chasing its tail. You can see what we can do with the community, but we need funding to do that. And by funding us, you're helping us become more of a community station and do the things that we want to do and help the community bring things to light. Now I close. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Do we have any questions, I guess?
No, not yet. Yeah, I think my colleagues has some questions.
We actually don't have that many questions. Okay. This is more of a time check on this item to move on. But what direction needs to be provided right now today?
Yep. So thanks. Just want to clarify a couple of things. I think first, this isn't a grant program, right? So this is ongoing funding that the commission voluntarily provides to its channel licensees. So the question that was before us initially was whether they were eligible for funding, not whether they would ever be entitled to it. That's absolutely a decision that would be made by this commission, assuming we ever got past the first hurdle. On the second issue, given that they're consulting counsel and have made, some allusions, I would recommend that the commission continue the item so we have an opportunity to consult with their new counsel, and we can bring it back to you in the future as appropriate.
Thank you. I think, Ron, that's our direction. Thank you. Okay. Colleagues? You're good?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. Okay. That was the wrong way to go about this. Absolutely the wrong way to go about this. If I could ask for staff to meet once again with them, I assume you have met with them previously. If you could, please provide them with some of the specifics they asked. What is the standard and how can they get there? And perhaps discuss a timeline and some milestones that they could reach where this may become more acceptable. But I think the other thing that I would suggest to you is that if you'd like to have these longer conversations, it might be best to set up a conversation with each individual board member prior to this, simply because this was not the way that this should have gone. So with that, I hope everybody is okay with me, but that's where I am. Thank you.
Anyone else has any comments on this?
Yeah, and I would agree with Kevin that this is
Second. Good.
This is a much longer discussion than we have time for and is not prepared for. So I just want to throw out a couple points that I'd like answered, either one-on-one when we have time, and I didn't get to review this to ask you these before. The U.S. Supreme Court, I believe the packet and what you said earlier, didn't completely invalidate the state no-aid clauses. So I'd like a little bit of clarification on to what extent it did place those into question. And then, secondly, it sounds like there's more decisions coming, and what would be the challenge or consequence? Where would that come from if we were to explore into this area, down the road? So I don't need those answers now because this is a longer discussion that needs to go, but I do want to make sure that they get answered.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call item number 12 for...
And item number 12 is the community grant program. So you're going to hear the presentation on the staff report and then provide feedback and direction as necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me. Good afternoon, Bob Davis, and your executive director again. I understand time is getting a little bit, so I'll do what I can to maybe try to quickly go through this information. We actually did provide a draft community program, grant program with the board packet, and we want your board's input. And I know you don't want to hear me drone on for 10 minutes, on all the points. So, the board asked for this in June of 2023, allocated $200,000 in the budget. So staff went off, and we've now prepared the kind of skeleton of a community grant program that we think that we can implement. We're asking for two rounds, if you will, two deadlines, one in November, one in February. Maybe with different meeting timings, we might adjust that a little bit, but 2 times a year, and we're trying to avoid the June, July, those busy times of years. We are proposing grants, and we're suggesting that grants can be submitted up to $50,000. A request for up to $50,000. It doesn't have to be 50. There's a $200,000 budget, so there's a committee that would get together to review this request. There's also a scholarship program with scholarships up to $2,500 that can be used for somebody going to college in film courses, somebody taking one-off video editing courses, any educational program that somebody could access, that could enhance their skills in video, audio production. So with that, a really short presentation. We're suggesting a committee that could look like this: 2 staff people, 2 board members, and 2 to 3 members of member agency staff. We would get the proposals in November and February. We'd have the committee review them, and then ultimately the grants, the grant awards would come to the board for approval. And with that, we're asking for your direction.
Yes.
A clarifying question. Is there anything in the current guidelines, I can't see it here in front of us, that prohibits somebody from applying twice in a year? Are they exempt from receiving funding more than once in a year?
That's a really good question. It did cross my mind. Jillian, do you have anything to add on that?
We didn't come to a decision on that. I would like your feedback.
I think given the dollar amount, it's a little bit difficult to imagine 2 awards at the maximum amount, but maybe in the first year, we could monitor the number of applications and types we get, look at the demand, and then consider in a future cycle whether we would want to increase that amount. I don't want to prohibit somebody who has high capacity and quality production from applying more than once, but I think we'd have to maybe think of some way of capping the amount that any one recipient could receive.
And also that could be up to the selection committee too. If you get 3 requests from a certain school organization and no other requests, you might have the flexibility to do that. If you get 100 requests, you probably wouldn't give all the awards to the one school and would probably dole them out. But a very good question. It did cross our minds, and you're right, it's not addressed in the staff report, so we will put some thought into that before the program comes back in June.
Thank you.
And about the communication of these grants and these ones to the member agencies, you do have a plan to communicate with?
So the plan is to communicate. In staff status, we're going to be talking to you about communicating to member agencies and increasing our communication to member agencies. But, absolutely reaching out to channel licensees. A lot of students that SECC works with that could apply for these grants. Reaching out to channel licensees, reaching out to member agencies, doing what we can to, along with improving the recognition of Metro 14 and Cable Commission in the community. This grant program goes a long way to help do that. So, I don't have a written plan on how to do that. In June, I think we'll come out with what that plan is, but it is to communicate.
Got it. Thank you. Yes.
Just for the interest of time expediency, having, of course, carefully read the staff report, as I'm sure everybody up here has, it is extremely well written and thorough, and my question is, what specific direction do you need today to move this forward?
Direction to move forward. That's all we need.
Makes sense.
I did have a comment as well. I just wanted to kind of point 2 things in there. I just want to thank staff as well for, this is really exciting to see a community action grant with this much money as well, and I think providing those logistics and everything is really key. I think I did look at the requirements, and I think it's just, be interesting to kind of see, what staff also has prepared in terms of like guidance for our young folks who are going to be doing this and what they're going to be submitting, because this is pretty hefty, and it's great, and so I think wanting to set them up for success when they do submit their applications and set them up for success, because this is a great learning opportunity as well. So I think the guidance in terms of like whether it be like briefings or a webinar or something like that, just like it doesn't have to be that many, but just like within staff capacity to be able to provide guidance for our young folks who need more support when they submit it. And then the second piece is just in terms of I saw the grant proposal scoring rubric. Is that the same? Are those the same questions that's going to be utilized for the scholarship, or is that a separate document as well?
Yes, that would be the same rubric.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think it'd be great. I counted it all up as all 100 points, which is great. I think it'd be very key to, specifically in the impact and community benefit piece, to really, I think, name and voice thinking through like DEI, like diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think the questions are great, like how significant is, an example like how significant is the project's potential impact on the target audience or community. But I think digging a little bit deeper of like, how does it address equity in the communities that whether they're representing or serving in as a student or young person too is going to be really key if they're like doing a project like uplifting community voices. I think it'd be really powerful for us as a commission to also uplift, like pushing that out there too within the questions, being very intentional for the committee. Super excited to see what y'all do with it too when it comes in June. But yeah, those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, good. Madam Clerk, do you have any public comments?
We do not.
You do not. Okay. What's that?
Just really quickly, when it comes to selection, I'm not really sure how you're going to, I appreciate the scoring rubric, but measure like a grant proposal versus a scholarship proposal. So I think as you're going through this process, it might make sense out of that 200 to like cut out a certain % for scholarship and a certain % for grant. So that way you're looking at measuring 1-to-1, because I just don't know how you'd sit there and measure a grant program versus a single student scholarship. So I think that might be something you look at when you bring it back to the board.
Good point. Thanks.
Right. Thank you again. Quickly, I think, did we give them the direction on one grant approval per entity for a first year, and then later on we can relook into it?
We asked them to suggest guidance that would say you could apply twice under a certain cap amount within 1 year.
Within 1 year?
So if somebody's applying twice for small amounts,
Okay. got
maybe
it.
not significant, but 2 at 50,000 each would be difficult.
That's my concern, because this is a limited amount there right now.
So we could try to add verbiage to that specific point in what comes back in June.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Since we have no public comments, Madam Clerk, please go ahead and read the next item.
So your next item, and I apologize.
Number 13.
Thank you. And your next item is, it's a receive and file, and it's to receive and file reports of channel licensees. And we have Access Sacramento and Donna Giro and other board members are scheduled to present Capital Public Radio, KVIE, Sac Life TV, and I think they've already presented with their video that was moved. Yeah. And then Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium has a video as well.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead with the Access Sacramento, Donna, followed by, is Cap Radio here by chance? We love to hear from them. We always hear in the car. Yes, Donna.
Hi, I'm Donna Giroux, the Executive Director at Access Sacramento. We do not have a report to file right now. We will do what we did the last couple of years and submit that in April, and then ask your indulgence and meet with each one of you for 15 minutes to a half hour to talk about the increasing value we're bringing to the community. So we're hoping that we can get some time on your schedule end of April.
End of April. Thank you.
Hey, Chair YK?
Yes.
I just want to add a little context here. I want to point out that board members did receive a complaint regarding Access Sacramento. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was sent to all board members, but I know several board members did receive that. So in the meantime, I contacted Donna, and we certainly talked about it. And I also talked to the interim chair, the then interim chair, and got a lot of information. I did ask Donna to provide a response to that, and their current chair did provide a response, and that is included in the agenda packet.
That's right.
So I just want to point that not only is Donna here, but other board members from Access Sacramento are here as well. And if your board would like to discuss, anything related to that, it's certainly appropriate to do it at this time.
I did read that response. I'm sure our colleagues might have read. If anyone has any questions, we can bring it to the Access Sacramento. If not, we can move on. Kevin, you have one?
I was just going to say, I don't necessarily need to continue the conversation here, but please do reach out. It just, as you mentioned before, I'd definitely like to hear from you, and I don't know if you can wait for me or whatever, but please reach out, because I would like to hear more about not the issue, but just your outreach in general. Okay.
Super. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Donna.
Thanks, Donna.
Good. The next one is Sac Life TV is done. Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium, please, SECC.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Liz Rhodes. I'm the Executive Director of SECC, and we've got 2 additional people. We've got a short report and an announcement we'd like to make. So I think with that, our big thing, you just got the invitation to our annual award night, which is coming up. We've hit a milestone this year. For the first time, the entries from our students, every single district in the county is participating. Plus, we have a new member on our within our organization, and they have entered 35 entries. So that's very exciting for us. The other thing I wanted to, I'll just pass these out later, but these are our posters this year. I was going to give them to you in January, but Bob canceled the meeting. I'm kidding. These were designed by a student at Cordova High School. We're doing all we can to get more student involvement in everything that we do. And I think moving forward, we want to talk to you about our mobile carts that you funded last year. They're taking off, and Jessica is our lead person and is spearheading that project and the new project we have going this year with coordinating esports in the community. So with that,
I'll make it super quick, I promise. So like Liz mentioned, we're on our version 3.0 for our mobile cart that you all fund with your PEG funding. The mobile cart is utilized by schools to be able to live stream and do multicam shoots. So it has 3 cameras, whole bunch of other equipment that I won't go into detail about. But so the most recent, we have one at Sunrise Elementary School, and then we also have one at Franklin High School. We're currently working with Folsom Cordova to provide it for their school district, actually, because they have multiple schools that want to utilize it. So most recently, Franklin High School utilized their mobile cart to do a capture of, they have a DUI event that they do every year. It's an actual court case that they come out to their gymnasium. The entire school is present, and it's not a reenactment, it's the actual case. So the students get to see both sides of the argument. They get to see the person get their sentencing on site. And we have it's actually a lot of the schools do it, but this is the first time that we know of that it's been captured. So the school has the opportunity to share that out with their community as a whole, and other schools get to see it as well. It happens once every 4 years, so it was really, really big for them to have that opportunity. The other thing that Liz mentioned was esports. I'm sure, as you all know, it's a huge subject. It's coming up in all of our school districts. So San Juan most recently had an esports event at their Gold River Discovery Center, and SECC came out to capture the event, and then we shared that video out with our board and also other school districts so that people that don't have as expansive of programs have a little bit of backing to show why esports is so important and why they should have it at their schools. So that video came out great. We loved every key point that you could ask for was in there. And then finally, we are currently doing our student producer interviews. So every student that enters into our SEVA competition has the option for SECC staff to come out. We capture interviews with the students to get to talk about why they created the video that they did and why it was important to them. And then we share that out during award night and also on our SEVA TV episodes on the channels. So we've currently gone to 12 sites and we have more coming up.
Wow.
And I think that was everything. And it's on the video, so if we could play that tape, that'd be great.
Thank you. Yep.
We are at Franklin High School today, and today, for the very first time, we live streamed an assembly for our entire student body and our community. The assembly today was about drinking and driving, and they did an actual DUI case. They actually brought the courtroom here on our campus, and it was very impactful to hear from the defendant, the different attorneys, the judge, law enforcement, and then a family who had lost their son to a drunk driver. That was, of course, the whole centerpiece of today. We got to use our mobile cart, and we were able to set it up with ease. We were able to set everything up in about 27 minutes. All of our equipment worked seamlessly together, and I just am so grateful and thankful, and I can't wait to do it again. Thank you so much to SECC and the Sacramento Cable Commission.
Today's event is the first annual esports tournament for elementary school and middle school for the San Juan Unified School District. And we are currently at Gold River Discovery Center.
We all get to enjoy the matches. After we lose or win a match, we shake hands like, good game.
It's really allowing kids to use something that they are passionate about and teaching them how to work together.
The kick the ball, throw the ball kind of sports is not for every kid, but every kid needs community.
TJTV really is the cornerstone of our school. It is the, in my mind, most important connector for students, staff, and community.
You can do a lot of stuff with video. Like, you can entertain people, you can make funny skits. You can also very easily tell people about actual stuff going on, the laws that the state is passing. Because it's a visual representation of stuff, it's really easy to process.
And it's very, very intricate. There's a lot of things that go into video. It's not just the camera that's recording, it's the people, it's the act, it's the music, sound, everything. It has a lot to do with it, so I love the intricacy.
Thank you, Liz.
So you can see how excited we are and where your funds are going. These mobile carts are just totally taking off and providing such unique opportunities for our students that are really reaching that next level. And that's what we like to see. The announcement that I would like to make today is I'm retiring. I know, bittersweet. June 30th. But I just wanted to say today that when I look back on 39 years, as I was telling Lydia, I was 10 years old when they hired me, that we have done so much in this community. And I think that with the support and the commission, we're looking at the history of all of the chairs. I knew every single one of them. And looking back and how everybody was able to pull together this remarkable resource that we have for this community is absolutely amazing. And I am so honored and so privileged to have been a part of that. So I thank you very, very much for that. I was going to start the whole thing off by saying this gentleman right here is the one that pushed me into this. I thought, if Bob Davison can do it, so can I. But he's back. Anyway, and I have totally enjoyed working with all of the staffs over the years. But I will be back in June, going to make sure that everything is copacetic for moving forward with all of our programs. And I would like to introduce to you Barbara Schiffner. She is our chairperson and is spearheading our board in terms of trying to find my replacement. Barbara?
Barbara?
Hi. Yes, so yesterday the board had a special board meeting to select a third-party company to do the hiring and the recruiting and hiring process, and we decided to go with HR to Go. SECC has already been working with HR to Go, so it's a company that knows the culture of the organization. And also, part of the contract, too, would be to provide 6 months of consulting and guidance to the new executive director to make sure that we're keeping alignment with the goals of the SECC. So I just wanted to thank Liz for everything, for her 39 years of exceptional leadership. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your service, Liz, especially for students. I think no KVIEQ. I think that's it. Is that? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I've been here the whole time.
I am so sorry.
Okay.
Why did this color? Sorry, this was my misleading.
No, you actually said KVIE before SECC, and I was so excited because they say you're not supposed to go after kids or animals. So the only thing I have to say is, Liz, thank you for not including an animal in the video. The kids were there and they were great. Good afternoon, I'm David Lowe. I'm KVIE's president and general manager. And in the interest of time, I'm going to give a 3-minute update in about a minute and a half. Our recent local productions have taken us across the community, the state, and the nation. Right here at home, we explored deafness and hearing loss. We looked at new research into psychedelics therapy. And we looked at remarkable breakthroughs in stem cell research. Across California, we looked at what's working in public education from kindergarten through high school, including stories right here in Sacramento County about a unique journalism training program that publishes student work, a brand new farm and cooking school called the Food Literacy Center, an engineering challenge that's teaching students to build hydrogen fuel cell remote control cars, and the power of dual language programs that prepare students for a state seal of biliteracy on their diplomas. And across the nation, with America's Heartland, we celebrate the farmers and ranchers who bring us all our food, fiber, and fuel. And it has a special emphasis in 2 seasons on California specialty crops, things like almonds, artichokes, and broccoli that are pretty much just here in California. We also recently extended a long-standing agreement with Metro Cable to present some of our local programs on its channel. And for family fun, we have Curiosity Day at SMUD Mosac, where kids can have experienced hands-on learning activities, explore exhibits, and meet special guest Peg plus Cat and Curious George. That's on Saturday, March 23rd. As always, thank you for your continuing support for all that KVIE can do and will continue to do.
Thank you so much. Apologies for not calling you before SECC.
Next time.
Next time, yes. Once again, I just want to share with all of you, and even my colleagues also, we meet once in a quarter. And they are very important partners for this commission, right? I feel bad when we rush them for 60 seconds, 90 seconds. So we want to hear what you are doing out in the community, right? So apologies, but if you have more defined ones, please provide us upfront. That way we plan the agenda that way it is enough time for everybody to give an opportunity to speak. So that's my comments as a chair. My colleagues, do you guys have any comments for our PEG friends? Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, do you have any public comments
And there are
on
no
this
public
one?
comments for the item.
Okay, let's get going to the next one, item number 14.
So for item 14, it's receive and files, and it's receive and file reports of state franchisees, AT&T, DirecTV, Comcast, and then Consolidated Communications Incorporated.
Bob, do you have any comments on this one?
No comments. I haven't received any information, though I do have a staff status update that I'll give on Consolidated on the next item.
Next item one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Okay. Colleagues, since there is no one here, any public comments, Madam Clerk?
Nope. Sorry.
Okay.
No public comments
No
either.
public comments. Got it. So please, let's go to the next item, ma'am. Item number
And
15.
so our next item is for our Executive Director's Report of General Administration Activities.
Okay, thank you. And I'll, again, try to go through this fast because I know, but I don't want to, please ask me about something if there's something you want to hear more about. But first of all, operations and personnel, I just want to point out that Holden Alameda is a new production assistant, and he's been hired since September of 2023. He's an AV tech is still, I think, an AV tech for Life Point Church, and has done work with the River Cats. He went to Franklin High School in Elk Grove. Currently, he's going to Cosumnes River College, taking radio, TV, and film classes. Maybe he'll apply for the grant or the scholarship. And he's enthusiastic, works, learns quickly, and he's been a great addition to our staff. So that's the staff update. Status of audits, we already talked about the P-card audit. There's a cable company audits that are going on that are going to audit the franchise fees from 1920, 2021, and that's underway and will likely be presented to the board in June. The commission itself does get, I think that came up earlier, we do audit ourselves, and we do a full audit of the commission, and that's being worked on right now, and it's anticipated that those will also be presented at June, and if not ready by June, then in September. There's been talk about a nonprofit agency. Since I've come on, this has been a lot of work. This is probably something I need to put off into the next year. So with you, hopefully everybody's okay with that. The marketing and outreach, I kind of talked about that already. I've talked to YK, and we are going to be looking for ways to increase, the knowledge of SMCTC in the community. Communication with the member agencies. So when a cable complaint comes to one of your offices, send them to us. And make not just your offices, but mostly you guys know this. But maybe the staffs at Folsom and Citrus Heights and other entities don't. So we're going to be creating flyers, having some more communication, also talking to the channel licensees about the Metro Cable 14 and the Cable Commission and how we could increase our presence in the minds of the community. And so we'll be coming back to you with more information on that. We talked about school boards. I know there's 15 school boards out there. If we put them all on, it would be rough. But we absolutely, if school boards want to be on, the best thing they can do, as talked about earlier, is they can give us the file, and our program coordinator will do their best to see that we can get school boards on. We do the Sac City Unified School District. Those we do air right now. I know we've had discussions with Folsom in the past, Folsom Cordova in the past, and it sounds like there'll be some more discussions with them. But we do have the ability to take in those files and put them on, and we'll charge them $40 or so, too. Let's see. Consolidated Communications is the termination of their franchise. That's a sad thing for me. I did this job before I retired, 16 and a half years, and we were very proud that we had competition in Sacramento. Before DIVCA, before statewide franchising that leveled the playing field, we actually had competition in Sacramento, and Consolidated was one of the franchisees that came in and got a local franchise. So it's too bad. As with AT&T is kind of leaving the business for DirecTV, we still have them. Their franchise fees have been dwindling. Consolidated Communications, we get $400,000 a year from them right now, so it will be a hit. Starting June of next year, it's going to go from that to zero. Honestly, it was a lot more from them before, so it's been dwindling already over time.
Yeah.
And that's all I have for staff status today. I hope I did that quick enough.
Wow, you did it. I know, so fast. Thank you. Thank you again, Bob. We will jump into the next item. Before I go, there is, before we go to that one, we go to the chair selection. That way, they can add anything they want to add in their comments to the chair and the vice chair, whomsoever is going to be picking. So, okay, item number 8. Madam Clerk, if you can read that for records.
We can move on to item number 8, and if you would bear with me just one moment here. I got my little sheets mixed up. So for your item number 8 is the election of the 2024 Commission Chairperson and Vice Chairperson.
Awesome. This is good. Every year, either 3 meetings or 4 meetings, going forward 5 meetings, which I like it. At least we can do some business here. It's again, thank you for this board for giving me this opportunity for last 1 year. At least I want to, drive this, think outside the box approach of the scholarships and some grant programs to nonprofits. And more importantly, reaching out to the residents about we are here in existence for you. So that's the main driver, and the cities can help, all the member agencies can help as well to disseminate in our public newsletters and all those things. Those are the few things, I want to drive, think outside the box. And I'm in a consistent touch with my vice chair on all these new things going on in motion. So with that, I would like to proudly make a recommendation or nomination to the chair, unless anyone has any questions before I do. Yes, ma'am.
I'd actually, with all due, I'd like to thank YK for his service this year. Your comments are always very uplifting and positive, and we don't have enough of that in our lives today, so we will definitely miss your leadership. I'd like to also thank Ryan. The two of you have been an amazing team this year. We've had some difficult conversations in closed session. We've had a lot of change, and I appreciate both of you leading into what may have been a more than expected year of service. And without, I'll just pause there, and I'd like to say, without any disrespect to the two of you, I anticipate the next year is going to present additional challenges as some of the issues from last year linger, and we don't meet often enough for this to move swiftly. So without any disrespect, I would actually like to recommend and nominate a council member from Elk Grove, Kevin Spees, not to suggest that there's not an opportunity still for our vice chair to continue, but I think that Mr. Spees brings some unique experience professionally that could be quite helpful to us, and we can talk about that further as appropriate in closed session.
Okay. That's the nomination from one of the directors. I know I didn't finish my thought as well, but is there a second? Because I have to finish that thought before I can go. I was leaning towards Ryan as a vice chair to chair, leaning towards, and let Ryan pick let this board pick a vice chair as well. But not to have, we'll follow the process, whatever it takes. I'm open and for a second. You'll second. Okay. Josh, I just want to make sure you guys are not part of these kind of discussions.
Absolutely not. This is 100% a board decision. Yeah.
Right. Since we have already a motion and second, mine was, I was thinking making Ryan as a chair and Kevin Species as a vice chair. As a motion, being a chair. So that was my thinking that way. As we are going through, there is no set rules, I believe, on our commission. A vice chair must become the chair. but there is always the rolling, activities. When we meet consistently. Every time I meet, I bring Ryan on board as well to talk about all those closed-door activities going on and the new programs we are rolling out. That's the only reason. Unless you want to alter your motion to Ryan as a chair and Kevin as a vice chair, and they can tag team as a team. Like, in fact, Bob can attest, I never had a chair alone driving the things. I always had my vice chair all the time. It's, two brains are better. 4 eyes.
And Chair, we do have a motion and a second on the floor, so we'll need to take a vote on it.
So,
I'm sorry.
So, point of clarity, that's what I was going to ask YK, is if he was making a substitute motion to nominate Ryan for chair. Is that?
Yes, Ryan as a chair and Kevin as a vice chair. As a friendly amendment, can you make that and second?
Can I
Respond to the question?
Can I just ask something really quickly?
Yes.
Kevin, how do you feel about it?
Well, I certainly wasn't prepared to do any supporting. Ryan is a fantastic guy, and as other people say, full stop. I think he's great, right? Full stop. I'm happy to support the will of the board, and if he is chosen as the chair, I'm certainly happy to support. So whatever choice you make, I'm good with it.
Point of clarity on order real quick. Do we need to nominate the chair first and then go to vice chair, or can we take them as one?
You can take them
You
as
can take, agreed.
You can
It's a
take them
board's
as one.
pleasure.
I think there was an open question on a friendly
question.
amendment.
Yeah, since the chair nomination came, that's why I'm bringing the vice chair name. That's the only reason I brought it. So,
Again, just to substantiate the comment I made previously, I'm impressed with Mr. Brown's service. I think that Mr. Peace brings something unique to what we may anticipate this year. I know there's no formal rule that you can look at the history. We've had alternates, we've had appointees, we've had elected officials as chair and vice chair. I think it would be helpful this year to have an elected official in a leadership position, and I fully expect that if we were to choose Mr. Spees, he would be working in direct partnership with Mr. Brown, so potentially it's moot, but we have a number of jurisdictions represented. We have a number of issues that may, in fact, lend to litigation. I think that there's some benefit of an elected official leading our conversations in closed session because our elected officials have more experience in closed session. I have no experience in closed session, so I assume some of my colleagues from the county who are serving also don't have any experience in closed session, but sometimes we have difficult conversations that having been in that position time and time again, receiving counsel privately in our closed sessions, it lends to a level of confidence and assurity that we're proceeding in a way that we've had some interesting challenges this year. I hope that makes sense.
No,
I'm going to stop there.
Awesome. Any, go ahead.
Yeah, President. So very much understand that. I do appreciate all those comments, but I very much appreciated Director Brown's leadership throughout this course. I think I understand what you're saying. I know that you were newer here. We have, those of us who have been here have been in extensive closed sessions when you were on this commission. And so I do agree that I think Director Spees would make an amazing part of our executive team. And I think the two of them working together would do very well. But I appreciate Director Brown's time as vice chair, and I would like to see him. I think he's earned that shot at being chair. And so I'd like to make a substitute motion for Director Brown to be chair and Director Spees to be vice chair.
A friendly amendment request. I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah,
If
Chair,
that's the case, we can go for a call.
Chair, apologies. I think at this point there has been a substitute motion.
Yes.
So the question would just be whether there's a second to that.
I second.
And I'm sorry, I missed who the second was. Is that
Director Lee.
Asia Lid? And then if we'll go back, so I thought that it was the exact same, that it was for the substitute motion was for Director Brown as chair and Director Spees as vice chair.
Vice chair.
Right, okay, so it was the exact same.
That's a
Perfect.
substitute. The earlier
That was
motion
the
was other way.
Right.
Okay.
Are we ready, directors?
Yeah.
Okay, so directors, Discala.
And
No,
just
hang
clarification,
on. We
this
have to
vote is on
clarify.
the chair. Sorry, just a clarification for the board. You will first vote on the substitute motion. If the substitute motion fails, you will vote on the initial motion. As reminders, the substitute motion would be for Director Brown as chair and Director Spees as vice chair. If that motion fails, then we'll go to the regular motion, which was for Director Spees as chair.
True. Thank you. Thank you for clarification.
Sorry, one more question. Is there an abstention? I'm not
Yes,
interested.
there's no requirement to vote. Directors can abstain if they wish.
Thank you.
Excellent question.
Always
Mr.
voted
Speaker.
We do need a majority voting yes for the motion to pass.
That's right. I know.
Okay.
Well, if we have a tie vote, then I'll weigh in, but I would prefer not. Yeah. So, okay.
Okay.
Madam
All right,
Clerk, please
directors.
call the roll for
All right.
alternate motion.
Directors Descala.
Yes.
McCarthy Olmsted. No. Martian.
No.
Sloan.
No.
Riley.
Yes.
Brown.
Defer to the end.
Okay, Middleton.
Yes.
Papineau.
No.
Nava.
No.
Spees. Lee.
Yes.
And Shalom Shurla.
Yes.
And the motion.
I thought.
And then we want to go back to Brown.
Yes, thanks.
Brown. Yeah. Oh, voting here?
I believe it is tied right now.
I think it's
And
5-5,
it's
but
tied. It's 5-5 with one abstention, and then Brown, you will have the.
Oh, Brownie. Okay.
I have
Yes.
yet to vote.
Yet to vote?
Yes.
Okay, and the motion carries with those members present. For Director Brown as chair and Director Spees as vice chair.
They'll work together. And thank you and congratulations to the new chair and the new vice chair. Yes.
Do we then have to take a second vote?
Yeah, that was just to,
to
vote on whether
substitute.
you're going to do the substitute motion. So now you have to vote on the substitute motion, right?
No, the vote's on the
No.
substitute motion. But just a clarity, Ms. Frazier,
Yes.
we need a majority of the board to vote in favor, and I don't have I've got lost on the math. So can you remind me of where we are on the yays and nays?
I'm sorry, on the what? I couldn't understand what you.
Yeses and nos? I'm sorry.
Oh, do you want me to repeat the names of who the yeses?
No,
and
just
nos?
the totals,
Oh,
please.
It was 5 and 5.
No.
It was 6 and 5. I'm sorry. So it was 6 for yes
So-
on the motion and 5 for no with an
And with one
abstention.
abstention, so we don't have a majority voting yes, so the motion does not carry.
Okay.
We need 7 votes. Our GPA requires there to be a majority of the board voting on any motion.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
Good. Well, we'll go back to the initial motion and call roll.
That's correct, Chair. Thank you.
So on the initial motion, then we had Director or Chair Shalom Shurla had voted
The
for.
chair is Kevin and vice chair is.
I believe that there was no vice chair included in the original
There
motion.
was not.
Director Sloan, the original motion was just for Kevin, correct, as chair?
For the.
I will make it a motion. I mean, my comments might have reflected that, but the motion should be, the chair would be Kevin Spees and the vice chair would be Ryan Brown.
Yeah, okay. That's how I understood.
Thank you. And then Lisa Nava seconded the. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Are we ready? Okay, Directors Descala.
Yes.
McCarthy Olmsted.
Yes.
Martian.
Yes.
Sloan.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Middleton.
Yes.
Papineau.
Yes.
Nava.
Yes.
Spees.
Abstain. I told you I'm not voting for myself.
Smart man.
And I was on a roll there. And Lee.
Yes.
And Shalom Shurla.
And yes.
And we have the majority vote, so the motion carries.
Thank you again.
And thank you.
Thank you again for clarifying and running through
Yes.
this one. Rebecca, thank you so much for the motion. And congratulations to chair and vice chair. It's a wonderful team. Let's give them a big round of applause to our new chair and new vice chair. They'll be a great team.
I'm looking forward to working with you, Ryan.
We got to go to. Yeah. They're going to be a great team. Awesome team. Okay, we can quickly go to the item number 16. commissioners' comments, and after that I can call it for closed doors. Commissioner comments from my left to right. Any comments, ma'am?
Yeah, I'll start us off. Just want to say thank you and congratulations to the chair and vice chair. Just super excited to work with them in their new capacity and to see what pipeline we built to have more folks be represented as chair and vice chair of this commission. And I'll pass it off.
Awesome. Any comments?
No comments.
Nope. Let's move to close.
A new chair. Comments, please. Abstain? No.
No. In the interest of time, no comments, but thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it. Looking forward to a great year working together. Thank you.
Yeah, Portia. No comments. Ryan. Okay. Kevin. Any comments? Any comments? Lisa.
Just we'll miss you, Liz.
Ah.
See you in June.
I'd like to thank Bob Davison for returning. We very much appreciate your experience at this time. And I'd like to reiterate my gratitude to both Mr. Brown and YK for their service in this past year. And I look forward to working with you both, if not here, in other areas of our county. Thank you.
Awesome. Again, my comments once again, thank you for this board. I'll be continuing on this board until the year end. After that, I won't be on my city council, so I can't come here. I'll come there and sit up there, and I'll continue talking as a cable user complaints. No, that's not my point. But I want to make sure, thank you again for everything you guys have done. Sometimes it may be a little bit frustration from your side. I run more user-focused, citizens-focused meetings. That's why I never press the 3 minutes, even though clerk was reminding me, YK, it's a 3 minutes time limit. I said, we meet once in 3 months, 4 months. Let them come and say extra 60 seconds more. Apologies if it is a little bit frustration on your side. But with that, thank you again. We are adjourning this session, and we are moving to the closed door, item number 17. Madam Clerk, if you can read that for record, please.
For item number 17, for your closed session, it's a conference with legal counsel. Anticipated litigation. It's a significant exposure to litigation pursuant to paragraph 2 of subdivision D of section 54956.9, semicolon 1 case. And it's the public employee appointment title executive director.
Again, thank you again, everyone. And thanks to all the staff members. You guys are wonderful working with. Can I adjourn this meeting at 4:54?
4:50? Yeah.